Oladipo. Oh, he hit it! Three-point lead! And the Pacers have a 1-point lead!
And now with 5 seconds, here's Oladipo, 3 seconds.
Race up.
A three to win it.
I am Thomas Butler-Guerrero here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is the first ever episode of the On-Air Mobcast. Listeners can stream the Mobcast on iTunes and Spotify, and be sure to follow Mobcast On Air on Instagram and subscribe to Thomas Butler-Guerrero on YouTube. We are loaded for episode 1 as we begin the new year breaking down the recent games of local indie teams, including the Pacers, Butler Bulldogs, and IUPUI Jaguars. But first, here is CEO Jeff Rubin with a sponsored Sports Meet ad.
Sports Meet gives fans and athletes the power of voice, and for athletes who do have a voice, we amplify that voice. We connect them with fans in a way that's meaningful, that removes the negative nuances of social media for fans to actually talk with fans who do love them. You know, thousands of fans already found Sports Meet to be a platform that they can create sports content, debate others, and have fun talking about sports. We turn that human element to fandom into a video game.
Indiana and Notre Dame. Where's the double? Where's the double? It came late. He spat it out to the corner. For the lead. Armand Franklin, the Indy native.
In the second overtime. Stefanovich for the tie. Yes!
Davis could not deny Baldwin. Kamar Baldwin, the senior, off the step back. He knocks it down. Punch, counter punch, and Butler wins.
All right, so what happened in Indiana basketball this weekend? Butler played Providence.
Yeah, the Bulldogs have won 6 straight after easily covering their 2.5-point spread in a 70-58 win. Providence was held to 20% shooting in the first half. They didn't score for the first 6.5 minutes and missed their first 13 shots of the game. Butler will face off against the only other undefeated team in the Big East, Seton Hall, on Wednesday. The Jaguars lost to Horizon-leading Wright State on Friday at the Farmers Coliseum. Guard Jalen Manette dropped 24 points and has been averaging over 24 per game since the new year began. Come out and watch the Jaguars face off against Northern Kentucky Sunday at 2 at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum.
So, Minnesota, San Francisco. Who do you think's going to win?
I do like San Francisco to win the game at home, but I believe Minnesota will cover their +7. We'll finally be able to see Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins in the divisional round. Last time Jimmy Garoppolo played Minnesota, he had his worst start of his career. He threw 3 picks, including a pick 6, and had a quarterback rating under 50.
Jesus, that's terrible. Pete Carroll fucking decided to not run it with Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line, and then get a delay of game and have to move back 5 yards and then just throw it. You're a fucking idiot.
Everybody's big on Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was 1 yard away.
You literally got a second chance to right the wrong that you did originally in the Super Bowl.
First game
and
back.
Then you don't. Yeah, first game back off the contract. I learned my lesson.
Everybody's big on Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was really one play away from being a 5 seed this year.
Vikings money line in this game for me.
I'll take the Vikings +7. I don't know about the money line, but I'm not giving them a full touchdown in this game. I do think the game will be close. So moving on to tonight's game, Tennessee's facing Baltimore. Baltimore comes in red hot. MVP, possibly the coach of the year. Number 1 offense that we've seen in a very long time. 12-game winning streak. Mark Ingram might be a little banged up.
MVP who doesn't give a fuck that he's an MVP. He wants to be a Super Bowl champion.
For sure.
He does not give 2 shits that he's an MVP.
I like Baltimore's philosophy. I definitely think Tennessee's pretty high on their victory over the New England Patriots last year. Everybody's saying that they could have depleted and ended the dynasty. I definitely like Tennessee +9.5 or 10, whatever the line ends at.
Yeah.
This game will be a time of possession. The way that Tennessee is going to be able to win this game is if they control the ball.
Run it down their throats with Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry has been averaging 150 yards in the last 7 games. He's totaled 1,000 yards in the last 7 games. That's stupid.
And he won me my fantasy football league. Just gonna say that.
I also won my fantasy football league. Who do you like in the game?
Baltimore for sure.
Definitely think Baltimore's going to win. I don't think they'll cover the whole time.
I don't know. Depending upon their run defense.
Even if he fails in the first half, they're still going to feed Derrick Henry the ball. It's not like they're going to depend on Ryan Tannehill to come back against the Baltimore defense.
But that's what I'm trying to say is if they're depending on Derrick Henry, if he never gets going, this game could get out of hand very quickly. I mean, if they stop him in the first half and they don't really come back with an answer in the second, Baltimore's not someone to take their foot off the gas.
I will say that this game will be decided very early. Could see possibly a backdoor cover, but I don't like hearing Ryan Tannehill playing from behind. I don't even like how that sounds.
Baltimore aims for 3-minute drives. Like, they want to score as quick as fucking possible.
Which is crazy because Tennessee's really going to try to control the game, run the clock, but I definitely believe Baltimore can score at will.
Kind of comes down to their defense.
Tennessee's one of those iffy teams. You see them blow out certain teams, and then you see them lose a whack game.
Colts beat them, so frankly, Baltimore has it in the bag. They're not winning. Tennessee is not winning.
Moving into our third game, we got Seattle facing Green Bay tomorrow. Seattle's +4. Russell Wilson has performed very well against Green Bay. Green Bay had a surprising 13-3 year where they got a bye. Seattle, again, was 1 yard away from being able to be the 1 seed in the NFC, which is ridiculous. But Pete Carroll couldn't make that happen, couldn't give Marshawn Lynch the ball. Seattle is 17-4 in their last 21 road games.
I don't like this Green Bay team that much. Like, Aaron Rodgers, of course, is Aaron Rodgers, but the rest of the team is kind of questionable. Their defense is good, but their defense isn't that great. Against the 49ers, they gave up 37 points.
Seattle has an opportunity to win this game, but I like Green Bay. I like Seattle +4. I'm not giving Russell Wilson +4 points on the road. Again, he's won 17 of his last 21 road games, and I believe out of his last 8, he's 7-1. Actually, he did go 7-1 this season on the road, and then went to Philadelphia and won.
Okay. I mean,
who do you like in the game?
Seattle. I like Seattle money line. It definitely could end up just like the San Francisco game where Pete Carroll blows it on the 1 yard line.
But for sure, I could definitely see like a very close game. I can see them
blowing it.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about Seattle either.
Pete Carroll, hear me now. If you don't run it on the fucking 1 yard line with Marshawn Lynch, I hope you get fired. I really do.
Aaron Rodgers really has no excuses anymore. This is really the game that could decide the NFC Championship. If you take a look at the quarterbacks in the other divisional game, you got Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins, two guys that aren't as experienced as Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been in the playoffs in the last 3 seasons, and now he has an opportunity that he hasn't had in over a decade to go back to the Super Bowl.
Do you think he really has a chance to get to the Super Bowl, though?
Yes. All they have to do is win the game. Win on Sunday.
And then play one more team.
San Francisco and Minnesota. I believe Green Bay has a better chance to beat them.
I think they could beat... This is fried. I think they could beat Minnesota. I don't think that they could beat San Francisco.
So you think San Francisco can win the NFC this year? All they have to do is win.
If they beat the Vikings, which I don't think they will.
Wow.
Yeah. Football's a crazy game, man. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of weird opinions about football, too. So, Texans-Chiefs.
-9.5, actually.
Ah, dude, I was at -5 this morning. Chiefs -5.
Yeah, you'll go back to the 2016 draft. Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, 2 quarterbacks at the Chicago Bears.
I would take the spread for sure.
Of 9.5?
Yeah, 9.5. Texans damn near might win. I mean, I don't think they will, but Deshaun Watson's going to tear up that defense.
You've seen a lot of Russell Wilson play from Deshaun Watson this year. After the loss of Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt going down, I knew the Houston Texans defense was going to suffer a bit. They have one main target in Hopkins, but I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs have too many weapons for them to not get blown out. I wouldn't bet against the Houston Texans because of...
Texans defense is just kind of questionable at this point in the season, honestly.
Not saying that Andy Reid hasn't choked in the playoffs before, but I definitely believe that the Kansas City Chiefs will win this game outright. That's fair to say.
I'd take Kansas City money line, but definitely Texans spread.
I just wouldn't bet against the Houston Texans. I'm not giving them that many points either. So moving into our last game on Monday, we have the national championship for college football. We have LSU playing Clemson. Clemson is the defending champions, +5.5. LSU brings in the #1 offense. Joe Burrow spoke earlier this week, and he was talking about that they have 5 NFL receivers running routes every down. So anybody has to be prepared for us. LSU is number 1 in scoring this season. In college football, Joe Burrow could be the number 1 pick, but Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost a game in his collegiate career. He's 25-0. Definitely looking at a battle of wills here.
I've changed my mind here, actually. I think LSU is going to win so much that I have to take Clemson, because frankly, every time that I think this much about a college football championship, it's Alabama winning, and then they somehow don't against Clemson. So, I don't know.
I'll give Clemson the points at 5.5. Haven't lost a game in the last 2 seasons.
But right, like, it makes so much sense that LSU is so fucking good. They have Joe Burrow, who's the Heisman winner, who just threw for 8 touchdowns in the
first half.
Yeah, at the first playoff game.
I'm not comparing Oklahoma to Clemson, though.
Well, yeah, for sure. But that's what I'm saying. It makes so much sense that LSU is supposed to win that Clemson should win. I'm
definitely taking Clemson in the points. I don't know about the money line, but I'll give Clemson 5.5.
5.5 for sure. Yeah, lock me in for 5.5. All right, so we kind of got a lot of NBA this weekend. For us, Pacers Bulls, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Pacers.
For me, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess so. The Pacers have won now 7 in a row against Chicago. The Pacers covered their 3-point spread. They did this all without their 3 potential All-Stars in Domantas Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon, and of course we're still waiting on the arrival of Victor Oladipo, who will
return in the 8th game that the Pacers are going to win in a row against the Chicago Bulls
at home.
January 29th.
At home.
Yes, in Indianapolis. That's going to be such a great game. I'm going to be so happy to see that.
Miles Turner had a season high 27 points. TJ Warren added 17.
Miles Turner had his 4th double-double of the season. Big news, folks.
I hear you.
Big news. 4th whole double-double. All right, but let's get to serious games. Lakers Mavs. That's a first round matchup in the playoffs for Western Conference. Mavericks, what do you think they'll be? 6, 7 seed?
I think they could be a lower seed just because without Kristaps Porzingis,
Lakers are going to be 1, probably.
Yeah, I do believe that the Los Angeles Lakers are the number 1 team in the Western Conference. Dallas could be a lower seed only because without Kristaps Porzingis, they have been on a low losing run. Luka Doncic is one of the best players I've ever seen, especially for any player that's younger than me. He's the best player I've ever seen in my life.
He's 20 years old.
It's ridiculous,
right? He
right?
said that to the reporter this morning.
But
the thing that we watched this morning.
He has been prone to at least seem a little tired and
make
a couple mistakes and lack defensively in the 4th quarter. The Dallas Mavericks are still a viable team in the Western Conference, but if they do get a lower seed and have to see, the clip any LA team or even Denver in the first round, then it could be over for their entire season. Now they are a sleeper team. I will say
Los
that.
Angeles Cavs in 4.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Luka he didn't do great last night.
Started off 1 for 6.
He had 5 turnovers in the first half, but it was also garbage time points, and they were down by
20 the entire game.
Yeah, they got shit on last night. 129 to 114, and we're leaving out the biggest thing. Anthony Davis wasn't even in the game.
Neither was Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, but Anthony Davis,
is the best player in the NBA.
Hot take, but he's one of them for sure.
He's definitely the best player in the NBA.
Over Giannis Antetokounmpo.
For sure. I would definitely rather have AD than Giannis.
Over Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, for sure. He's a simple 30 and 14 every game.
Over LeBron James.
Yes, for sure.
For sure over LeBron James.
Right now.
Averages a triple-double.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
You would rather have 30 and 14 than 35, 10, and 10?
He's averages 25 and 10 and 10.
But it's going to be playoff LeBron.
Yeah. For sure. I think Anthony Davis, if you watch the Laker games, is the best player on that team.
Okay. I'm not saying you're wrong.
LeBron is a great facilitator. He has the greatest resume in the NBA. But at year 17, you can't tell me that you wouldn't rather have Anthony Davis than LeBron James.
I guess that is pretty true. But at the same time, I'd rather have LeBron taking the last shot than Anthony Davis.
It's a whole entirely different conversation. If
Absolutely.
Somebody to take the last shot is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's taking the last shot over everybody in the NBA.
Oh, you're tweaking. I'm having Kawhi Leonard shoot my last shot. How many turnovers did Luka have? Box score. Because my biggest issue with Luka is he's young. So, I mean, he's going to make mistakes, which is fine. But he had 6 turnovers. And he had the worst plus-minus on his team.
He's the best player younger than you that you've ever seen in your entire life.
In my entire life. I think he may end up being one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived. I bet. I got 100. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for joining for the first episode of the
On-Air Mobcast.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.